Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today is a very happy day because Ike has been playing with me again on Fridays in World of Tanks. And oh my word, if any of you don't know, Ike is like my best bud in the whole world, and for some reason when we end up playing World of Tanks together, magic happens. So immediately at the start of this battle, because I know that I've got Ike backing me up now, I can be a little bit more aggressive. And so I say to the T55A, you want to have fun? Yo, T55A, you want to have fun? I don't think that I said it twice. I think that maybe it's just posting it twice into the chat here. Me and Ike are playing in Tier 9 Soviet Tech Tree heavy tanks. And as you can see, yeah, Ike is a very proud Norwegian, as you can see with the flag that's on his vehicle as well. So we're going to do what any self-respecting Soviet heavy tanks like the T10 should do, and that is to play very aggressively early on in the game and to rush into position. We are playing on the Westfield map, and on this map there is a wonderful ditch which a lot of people love to use on the enemy team to gain strong positions. But what about if two friends instead decide to try and take it from the enemy right at the start of this battle? So we're going to shove through using the speed and the aggression of T10s to be able to get forward and to now take the dip from the enemy team. And from this kind of a position, oh my word, talk about a target-rich environment, boys and girls, as we start by putting a round into the back of the Tier 8 Premium Czechoslovakian heavy tank, and I don't think this VK has even realized what is happening right now. Now, if you manage to take this position, not only do you have great fire across here, you also force the enemies to respond. And we can see they are responding here. And one of the strongest things about this position now is it will allow any of my vehicles which are smart enough to go here, use their gun depression, and have the easiest of easy shots into the side of the enemy tanks. Now, this is the kind of position which I've rushed into here in the last couple of months alone, and I end up just getting overwhelmed and completely obliterated. These are the kind of plays that you can only make in platoons. I wait for the 7772 to repair his track, but unable to quite manage to catch it. I missed there and decide to go for the lower plate instead. But these are the kind of plays that you can only do when you're playing in a platoon, and playing probably in a platoon with a bud who you feel like you synergize with. So immediately we've managed to deal a significant amount of damage to the enemy line up there. And now this 7772 is deciding to try and put some pressure up on us, and even their high explosive anti-tank rounds, is there anyone on the enemy team who doesn't fire premium ammunition in this game, is unable to consistently go through the front of the T10 when we've got it angled like that. So I was learning this position, I was learning how to use this position and trying to find positions where 5 degrees of gun depression will work for the T10. You can see I don't really want to get caught by the 7772, but now finally the E75 has made it up into an awesome position to be able to create a crossfire. So now the 7772 is no longer on my left. That means that maybe I can use this position over here to see if I can develop a crossfire against the T10. Now it looks like the T10 misses. I'm thinking about making my way up, unable to quite get the shot because I don't want to give the free shell to the Centurion. So instead, knowing that there's nobody really who's going to attack me from this location, why don't we instead go to the other side of the ridge and try and use this little nook that you're going to see here to then go hold down in and see if we can manage to finish off our opponents. Or at least it's still fairly close. They're up a tank even though they're down on hit points right now. But this is just such a beautiful position for being able to corner the enemy team and to make use of vehicles that otherwise don't have the gun depression to be able to be effective traditionally on this northern position. Usually you'd need 8 to 12 degrees of gun depression to go and sit where the E75 is and be effective. We are finding positions with our speed and with our platoon to make 5 degrees of gun depression work here. Although maybe not the gun handling there against the Centurion. So this is where really I would love to go more often. I have found it finally the perfect position to use the T10 in. From here we're only exposing our turret armor, but 5 degrees of gun depression feels like it's enough to be able to engage our opponents. Ike shuts down the Centurion, the E75 shuts down the AMX-65T, and now we finally get to start creeping up on this ridge line and being able to deliver the final shots into each of the remaining enemy forces, having outflanked them, outpushed them back, outsurrounded them, and now we are just outgunning them. Ike pops up on the ridge. I'm going to fire a shell into the T10. I don't manage to damage him. Ike does, however. Who's going to have the reload to be able to finish off the T10? Will it be us, or am I going to go for the VK instead? So the T55A, the player who we asked for help earlier on in this battle, finishes off the T10 on the enemy team that we'd locked down with the track, and then a double tap from me and Ike, and the tier 8 German heavy tank is not very well, the one that I played live on YouTube yesterday. So I've locked down the T95's tracks. Looks like he's actually not boosting his hit points, and in fact he's actually made his hit points lower, I guess, by taking the rate of fire advantage on the T95. And I pick up my 3rd kill, and I have a moment, I'm like, Ike, you're on 2 kills, bud. You know what happens if we both manage to get 3 kills? So I bully the STRV 1030, and then Ike comes in from the side with a shot and a ram, and there you go, 3 kills apiece. And if we can stay alive, that means brothers in arms. And you can see Ike is actually creating a human shield for me. Man, I love that, man. Platonically, of course. Yeah. I'm never usually lost for words. I can't really declare my undying love for Ike as I am married, kind of. Sorry, Ike. I apologize if that's what it is. But oh my God, having Ike just dive in front there to be able to be like, get down, Mr. President. That is something that you know only your best of buds who you synergize with are able to achieve. And man, ladies and gents, boys and girls, I think the whole world will agree it has been a pretty crappy last couple of weeks. But playing with this beautiful Norwegian, oh my word, it can bring a smile to my face even in these kind of times. It's been so long since I consistently platooned outside of events, and it's something that I used to do all the time. I used to, every single week, play for hours and hours and hours with my buds. And I have to admit, I was a little bit out of practice. The games that you're seeing are after about an hour of me kind of trying to be a little bit too passive. And then suddenly you realize what kind of force multiplier you have when there's not one, but there's 2 of you. If you've all watched my streams, you'll know I do some crazy things in World of Tanks. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But I can tell you, when there's 2 of you who are willing to go along with crazy ideas, yeah, sometimes they can work out pretty darn well, as we saw in that last game, and also as we're going to see in this round. Now, just because you're playing in a platoon doesn't mean that you shouldn't have that kind of natural take different positions and try to provide a bit of a crossfire. If we had both of us sitting up in this location, that would be a little bit silly. And that's why I always have so much fun with playing with Ike, because Ike almost naturally knows when it's time to kind of like join together and to create that force multiplier against your opponents, and when it's time to take a separate position and maybe to have extra lines of fire on your opponents. It's almost as if you're kind of going on a raid. You're trying to raid through a building. You know when it's time to get together, and you know when there's time to be able to cover each other's backs. And that's something that me and Ike have always been doing since we met in Elwyn Forest playing World of Warcraft in 2005. That's right, I was a classic player. I didn't manage to play in 2004 because it didn't come out on the European servers until, I believe it was Valentine's Day 2005. Thanks, Blizzard, for possibly what was one of the greatest Valentine's Day presents of all time. But yeah, something that I've definitely spent years and years of my life. And while I have regrets of spending arguably all of that time to be able to get the items that in the end don't really mean anything, if there's one thing that does matter from playing all of these games that will last forever, are the friendships that you make. And meeting Ike in Elwyn Forest in 2005, having gone to a wedding together, having had him as the best man at my wedding, has just been, yeah, like, you know your buds, you know your buds, you know who your buds are. And in World of Tanks, there's nothing better than playing with your buds, right? Look at this situation. Honestly, in this scenario, if I was by myself, I wouldn't feel confident. But I know, because we've both got our guns in the game right now, to have that extra kind of DPM, it kind of makes trading your hit points feel oh so much more meaningful. We can maybe make a play against the I-7, but I realize, yeah, you don't really want to expose yourself to all of the gun line that's up there. So I decide to push down, but unfortunately, I still get caught out by the snipers on top of the hill. Luckily, however, Ike's going to come here and back me up. This is a bit of a misplay there by me. I shouldn't have shot the E100 in that scenario. I should have shot the IS-7. Huge misplay there. Luckily, Ike takes the hit for me. And now look at what we are doing to this IS-7. I should really be loading gold in this situation. And yeah, that's me cheaping out. Luckily, however, the IS-4 finishes off the IS-7, and now we're in a good position. And finally, I start to load gold, and then I make, oh dear, the worst play in this game, that's for sure. I tried to use intuition to switch out from a gold round that I should have been firing against the IS-7 to a regular round to try and save some credits against the back of the Jagdpanzer 100, and then I found out that I don't have intuition on my M48. What is up with that? And so I end up just doing no damage in a situation where I could have easily done it. And I even missed the shell and hit the E100 in my complete fluster. Well, at least it looks like one of the players on my team, Ike, kind of knows what they're doing. Although that's doing an incredible disservice to all of the players who are surrounding us. That was possibly one of the most voracious ambushes by both the SDB-1 and the Object 279E, and it totally swung the game into our team's favor, and that's what you want to do. Now, this isn't something that you can only do with platoon mates. Whenever you feel like you have an opportunity to communicate with your allies and be able to then create those opportunities where you can get an overmatch against your opponents and you can manage to have 2 tanks on 1 or 3 tanks on 2, those are really how you can swing the game into your team's favor. And uh-oh, talk about sneaky. The Progetto comes up behind me. Luckily, he gets tracked. I track him again, and I am not forgiving you for taking out Ike in this scenario. I have a look behind, make sure the Centurion isn't getting me. Keep locking down the Progetto 65. And then he gets shut down by the IS-4 on my team. And now it's time to find out who is the better tank. Is it the American medium or is it the British medium? Ha. Well, as a Brit, I'm kind of rooting for the enemy in this situation. Is that even right? Am I allowed to do that? Okay. Better be a little bit sneaky here. I kind of need heat for the top of his turret unless I hit right on the weak point, but oh well. I guess it's the German medium who sneaks in and manages to finish off the British tank. I'm not regretting that though, as we block a high explosive anti-tank round from the Grilla in this situation. I can't really find an opportunity to be able to I should have just pushed the Centurion Action 10 off the cliff there, and wham bam, thank you ma'am. Looks like the Vikings are back in World of Tanks, as unfortunately, while Ike is a bit more of a smoldering wreck in this game than he was at least in the previous one, just what we were able to achieve there, you just can't do that kind of stuff by yourself. You basically take the 3,000 DPM that you have on an M48 and turn it into 6,000. It's almost practically cheating to be able to be in a platoon on Discord with your mates. And yeah, it's something that I'm very looking forward to legally cheating a little bit more today, as we're going to be streaming again for a couple of hours before I continue my progress in Elden Ring. So our first game in the T10 was a Brothers in Arms medal for securing 3 kills each. Yeah, we definitely didn't try to cheese that one out. And I was actually surprised to get my 3rd mark of excellence in the T10 and an ace tanker here as well for that aggressive play at the start of the game, with both me and Ike in the top 3, and we made a nice meaty profit as well. In the second game, not nearly as good of a round, but a Confederate medal, and just being on top with Ike on damage really shows what 2 fat Americans played by an aging Brit and a Norwegian at least can achieve. And I might have done a little bit more too if I wasn't so worried about trying to not lose credits with intuition. What an absolute donkey I was there. So what can we learn from today? Platooning is OP as long as you are platooning with synergy. This isn't something that you can just go and find Joe Average and be able to achieve overnight. This is something that me and Ike have been doing in our video gaming for the last 17 years. And another thing to note is that honestly, like the last week or 10 days has definitely been some of the most rough in at least the last couple of years. And there's nothing like a good bit of banter and kicking back with your buds to brush away those blues. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're an old school viewer and you want to come say hi to Ike, then come along. We're going to be streaming together for the next couple of hours, and then I'm going to be playing some Elden Ring as well. And if you want to see more games like this as well, I've got a whole series of teamwork videos stretching back nearly 10 years where you can see me, Ike, Phil, M4, and Jingles. Just rocking together. Either way, have a wonderful weekend, whatever you get up to. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.